What's poppin', everybody? This is Cerebral54, and today I have kind of a strange video. Strange in the sense that I'm gonna be talking about some negative things or some nitpicks for my favorite Pokemon game, which is Emerald. So, enhanced versions for Pokemon games, Emerald, Yellow, Crystal, I guess Black and White too. There were sequels, but they basically had more stuff than the original Black and White. They're usually superior in almost every way, hence the complete enhanced version of the original games in that same series. But I feel like in some ways, even with the complete edition, like the enhanced version of those games, they go a few steps back from the previous games. So in this case, Emerald, it's the enhanced version for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, my favorite original Pokemon games, Gen 3 games of the series. For me, these games, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, they're my favorite. But even with Emerald, they have a few things that do annoy me coming from Ruby and Sapphire. So the first thing that annoys me the most about Emerald is the battle tents replacing the Pokemon contest halls. So when we played Ruby and Sapphire for ages, and then you see Pokemon Emerald and you see those cool looking tents sort of replace them, it was cool for a little bit. You see, oh shit, these new tents replacing the contest halls. But after that little cool factor fades away, you realize that, in my opinion at least anyway, it's a shittier enhancement from the contest halls that were in Ruby and Sapphire. The way the contest halls worked in Ruby and Sapphire is you had each one for every rank in a certain city. So in Slateport, I think it was the hyper rank. In Verdant Turf, you had the normal rank. Falabor was the super rank, and then the master rank was in Moss Dip City, the way to the end game, you could say, close to the end game, before you're going to set out to sea. And that was kind of cool because it gives you the option to start getting into the contests even if you didn't beat the main game yet. Like if you just want to start playing with the contests, setting up for the contests, you can do that as you progress through the game. And you fly back to the certain city where the rank contest is being held, you want to try out. That's much better than taking all of the contest ranks and just placing them in Mostip City at the end of the game, because that's what they did. They replaced the contest halls in the cities with the little battle tents, and you basically have access to all of the contests once you reach Moss Deep City, and everything is held there, which is kind of boring, makes it less realistic, less cool in my opinion, and I just don't feel it was a good design choice. Now, in a way, if you strictly look at it from a content perspective, you didn't lose anything. All the contents are still in Emerald, and you basically gained the battle tents and lost nothing. But game design wise and sort of pace wise, I don't think it was a good decision. The reason they put the battle tents, at least my theory is because there was the battle frontier in the game at the end. The battle tents was sort of to introduce you and get you to practice a little bit certain facilities, and that sort of manner where you don't gain experience and things are more competitive, more serious. That's why they had them there, and I guess you could win some stuff too. But other than giving you a little bit of practice, a little bit of taste of the battle frontier, they don't really do anything. And once you have access to the battle frontier, you're probably never going to want to use the battle tents. So this is probably the number one thing that annoys me about Emerald compared with Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. I just think that the regular contest halls, the way they were placed in those games, and you get one in one town, one in another town, it's cool. You kind of have to fly back, and that might give you the chance to explore a previous area if you're not going to go out of your way to go back and explore it. Some people don't do that. So maybe if you do the contest, that's going to give you the opportunity. The other thing they could have done, if they really wanted to include like a battle tent place for practice or whatever, is in Emerald, we get the Trainer Heal, which is copy pasted from Fire and Leaf Green. Now, Trainer Heal, it's kind of cool, I guess, but I've never really played it in Emerald. I played it in Fire and Leaf Green because it was the only thing we had there. But once you realize it's the same thing from Fire and Leaf Green and you get Emerald, there's not really much reason to use it. It's a bit boring. I mean, obviously, extra content, they just copy pasted, Emerald, trying to make it the best Gen 3 games, the definitive Gen 3 game. But what they could have done is, in the place of the Trainer Heal, they could have just had like a giant battle tent, like the mini battle tents in the cities in Emerald, and it can act like a practice battle frontier, I guess, like the battle tents. Maybe they could have done something like that. Wouldn't be the greatest thing in the world, so I don't know, maybe including the Trainer Heal is better. But that was something they could have done, I guess, if they really wanted to include the battle tents, the sort of a practice frontier in a way. Okay, now another very minor thing, this is a completely minor, but it's something that always kind of annoyed me a little bit, is the little soundtrack, like the little soundbite when you catch a Pokemon in Emerald. They copy pasted it completely from Fart and Leaf Green, and I could never get used to it. I preferred the one in Ruby and Sapphire, like the original one from Gen 3, you could say. And since Emerald is supposed to be like the enhanced version of Ruby and Sapphire, I feel like they should have kept that. They shouldn't have put the Fart and Leaf Green. It feels so out of place. That always annoyed me because it's like I'm playing Emerald, I'm catching a Pokemon, and you reminded me of Pokemon Fire and Leaf Green, which in my eyes, of course, are inferior to Pokemon Emerald. So that was always kind of annoying to me. I never understood why they put that little soundbite from Fart and Leaf Green there. I guess they thought it was better. So if you catch a Pokemon, you hear that shit instead of the Ruby and Sapphire one. That sort of soundbite, if you guys don't know what I mean. But yeah, minor nitpick, but just something that always annoyed me. Next up, the Mirage Island. Now, this is more of a factor they didn't improve from Ruby and Sapphire rather than something that's different from Ruby and Sapphire because it's the same thing as far as I know. So Mirage Island, the problem with it is that it is extremely rare. It's so rare you have better odds that winning the lottery or some shit. Like that's how rare we're talking about. Like playing the games for 20 years now, catching Pokemon and doing what you gotta do. I could never actually access it. Like I don't think anybody accessed it that didn't use an action replay or just another hacking method or something. And since it was so bad in the original Ruby and Sapphire games, I feel like they should have maybe improved the odds in Emerald, and they didn't. They didn't do that at all. Now, I get it. It's called Mirage Island because it's supposed to be that rare, you know, a Mirage Island. You get that sort of a super rare berry, lychee berry there, wild Wynots, and there is a cool factor in it being so rare. But I mean, come on, you didn't have to make it so damn rare that catching shiny Pokemon seems like common in comparison. Like the odds for Mirage Island to appear, it's almost like the regular shiny chances of you encountering a shiny in the wild times 100 or something, times 10 or whatever. That's what it feels like to me because I played like one of my emeralds, because I have two, for like 500 something hours and managed to encounter 3 shiny Pokemon in that game, 2 of which were legendaries. And only Kyogre I was soft resetting for stats and then it ended up being shiny. So 3 shiny Pokemon in one game, but no Mirage Island. So that's how crazy rare it is we're talking about here. In the same category as improve factor, it's the Feebas too. Like, you know how rare Feebas is, only 4 tiles per day in Ruby and Sapphire for you to fish that Pokemon. I was lucky enough to stumble upon it in Emerald actually, just fishing, randomly fishing, and then it turned up over there. But once again, you didn't have to make it that rare, like such minor odds of finding it. Maybe they should have made like be 10 tiles or 15 tiles. It still would have been hell to find it. It still would have taken a lot of time. So, I mean, damn. For the longest time, I remember growing up, like, Feebas was the most mythical Pokemon. Like, screw the legendaries. This Pokemon, the rarest of all of them, because of what a pain in the ass it was to get. Like, you needed the patience, I suppose. And because a lot of us didn't have the patience, or we weren't really aware, you know, the internet wasn't as accessible as right now. I didn't even know about the tile thing growing up. Like, I was fishing in the area all day long. I'm like, where the fuck is Feebas? Where the fuck is Feebas? Why doesn't it appear? And even when you learn about the tiles, then you're thinking to yourself, man, I've wasted so many hours trying to get it. Even though I know the correct method now, is it even worth it? But anyway. And then the last thing to talk about is the battle with Steven. So, Steven in Emerald, in a way, he's like the final boss, kind of like Red in Gold and Silver. He was the champion in Ruby and Sapphire, but in Emerald, Wallace is the champion, and you only get to fight Steven once in Meteor Falls after you beat the game, I believe, like you beat the Elite Four once, the first time. And that's the problem. You only get to fight him once, which sucks so much. Like, that guy is probably the coolest guy from Gen 3, like the coolest character from Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And you only get to fight him once. In Gold and Silver, or at least in Crystal, I'm not sure about those games, I don't remember. But in Crystal, you can fight Red basically every time you beat the Elite Four. You can just go to Mount Silver, climb right up, and you can fight the guy again numerous times. You can't do that shit in Emerald. I could throw in the rival thing too with Mayor Brandon, but I mean, I don't care too much about that. It's Steven. At least Steven, we should have been able to fight him over and over again. Like he's chilling there at the Meteor Falls, and you can go every day and fight him or something, or every time you beat the Elite Four. That would have been good. But anyways, these are some of the most key nitpicks that come to my mind and that have been on my mind for quite a while, like especially the contest hall thing. I could never like get used to that shit. Like I'm never gonna be cool with how they handled that. But those are the biggest nitpicks from me comparing Emerald and Ruby and Sapphire. Ways that Emerald didn't improve from Ruby and Sapphire, and with the contest hall thing, even be worse actually, because I do prefer the way the contest halls were in Ruby and Sapphire compared to Emerald. So I hope you guys enjoyed this rant. You guys can tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think I'm crazy, or do you sort of feel me in these nitpicks? Do keep in mind that I still fucking love Emerald, of course. It's my favorite game. But it's just these sort of comparisons with Ruby and Sapphire. You can sort of make them. So subscribe to my channel for my usual TCG stuff. I'll be back with them. Leave a like, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time. What's up?